Hey, welcome to What the Fuck Sutter. Just a reminder, this Tuesday we premiere, so please continue to spread the word, and I want to thank you guys for the continued push and excitement for the season premiere. Obviously I'm not tweeting, but I am online, and I see the effort all the fans are making to get people excited and to get them aware. So I appreciate that, and keep it up, please. It'd be great to have a strong season 4 opening. Here's our question for this week. It comes from Jen Kennedy. It's called the Gemma question: loyalty with club or Jax? Hi Kurt, thanks for addressing Charlie's hair, because some people just can't accept it, I guess. You would think these people would have more to do than go crazy over his hair being cut. Really, who cares? No matter what, I don't think it will affect the show or his acting skills. I agree with that. I wish you could have done one more question for What the Fuck number 14, but I do understand you have a certain amount of time. Thank you, Jen. Thank you for being simpatico with my schedule. With all that said, in season 4 or the following seasons, who has Gemma's loyalty? By example, if Jax decides to follow or be with his family and focus on being a father and doesn't stay in the club, would Gemma follow her son and stick by him, or stay in the club with Clay and the others? That's a good question. I think, it's always a juggling act, I think, for the matriarch, in terms of, is not so much her loyalty, but is her need to keep the family intact or the club intact. And I think for Gemma, it's all sort of one and the same, that she has this vision or this plan for what the future will look like, and how to continue the epic turn that her family is making. And we play the idea, and I think we establish it in season 3 or 2, I forget, where we ultimately find out that Gemma was the one who hooked up with the club in the first 9 and got knocked up by John Teller, and she's the one that brought the Redwood Originals back to Charming to sort of have a home base, which is her hometown. And we established that dynamic with Unser and her connection to Unser. So I think that Gemma has like her family life, and Jax and those grandkids are all enmeshed with the club. Like, that is who she is, and that's what she sees the destiny of her family is with the club. That's, to me, that's where, if I care to indulge the Shakespearean archetype, to me that's sort of where that happens, is that she considers them to be royalty. They are outlaw royalty, and so that, for her, that must continue for them to be the family that they are. So I don't think it's so much about her Jax being with loyalty with the club, or her loyalty being with Jax or the club. I think she sees that her loyalty is to have that all stay intact. And we see throughout the course of at least the first 3 seasons, every time that's threatened, Gemma gets into defensive mode, into lockdown mode, and has a very strong opinion on why Jax must stay focused on becoming the leader of this club. Why those grandkids, Abel, and now in this new season we introduce Jax's second son, Thomas, why it's important for them to be part of this life as well. And I think Gemma, in her mind, sees them, ultimately usurping the president's patch from Jax at some time in the future. So, it's this very sort of epic, queenly dynamic that she has in terms of what she sees her family, and as in the connection to the club. I think I'll do one more, to honor Jen's need for more than one question. Clearly, I don't edit these questions or really spend much time caring or looking at them in advance, so I kind of do it here. Okay, this is from Joe Wesley, and Joe says, "Hey Kurt, I am a huge fan of SOA, have been since day one." Thank you, Joe. "I truly believe you are brilliant." Why? Thank you, Joe. "I am also an avid watcher of the HBO television and often find myself wondering how different SOA would have been if it did not air on cable and aired on channels such as HBO. Do you find it difficult to stay within the boundaries provided to you by cable television, and do you wish those boundaries were non-existent? Keep up the good fucking work." Joe Wesley from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I had a girlfriend in Scranton. Didn't work out very well. That's a good question. I think I've talked about this to a certain extent. The difference between HBO and FX is that FX is on basic cable or premium cable, which is ad-driven, which means that their revenue stream is generated through the network selling advertising space, whereas HBO is pay cable, which they don't have to worry about advertisers. It's paid by subscription base. And because of that, they're not subject to the parameters that advertisers may have around language and sexuality and all the things that we get standard and practice notes about, standard and practices notes about. So yeah, it definitely would be a different show, and I've said this a couple of times, and it's a different show just in the fact that I would have another 10 to 12 minutes to tell stories. I have 42 minutes and change to do this show on FX, and FX is great in terms of having some liberal freedom around those boundaries, and quite often they do give me extra time when I need it. But there's a big difference between 42 minutes and 55 minutes, or 54 minutes, whatever they do on the HBO shows, and so I would really be able to have a lot more story in these episodes, and yes, I live in a world, and I'm used to living in that world from being on The Shield, but I live in a world where the word fuck doesn't exist. Clearly, I don't live in a world where fuck doesn't exist, but my characters on the show live in that world. And and as far as sexuality, there's some boundaries around that. And I say this a lot in that I try not to look at these constraints as being, or these parameters as being constraints, and really to say, okay, here's my box, here are the rules. What's what's the most creative, the smartest, and the best way to utilize this space inside this box, So in other words, rather than looking at the parameters as being constraints, really looking at them as challenges, as creative challenges, and that's really what we try to do on the show, and in every aspect, whether it's budgetary restraints or language restraints or sexuality restraints, and try to find the most creative and interesting way around that, and as a result, I think ultimately have created a show that feels very different. I don't know, quite honestly, I don't know what the show would have been if it was on HBO. Clearly it would have been a different show. I don't necessarily know if it would have been a better show. It would have been a longer show. I probably could have done more in terms of some of the secondary characters, get to spend more time with them. But I don't know. I haven't really given that much thought in terms of what it could have been. But it definitely would. It definitely would be different. You know, it was some of it was my beef early on. You know, I knew this show would be compared to The Sopranos, obviously, because it's a family drama set in the world of outlaws. And but my beef early on was that it was a somewhat unfair comparison because of the production, because of the rules, and that pay cable is very different than ad-driven cable. So to me, it's really apples and oranges, and we're doing oranges, you know. And I don't know quite honestly. I don't know what the Apple version of this this show would be. That was a very long-winded answer, but I think I answered it. That's it. Keep watching. I'll keep doing these. These are very informative for me. It's actually great to get these questions and being able to bounce them off of folks who care to watch it. And again, please stay tuned and for the premiere. And in terms of my Twitter update, I posted that you know, if we get a 20% bump on the show, or if and when I have the evil number of followers of 66666, perhaps I'll tweet again. And that's it. I'll see you guys next week after the premiere, and hopefully I'll have some good news to report.